podcast focused on trends shaping the future of manufacturing. I'm Alexandria Burek, your host, here with A.W. Schultz, two thought leaders with a passion for people and manufacturing. Today and every episode, we are diving deep into the advancements, sustainable practices, and dynamic changes transforming how we produce everything.
And now welcome Alexandria Burek and A.W. Schultz.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Factory of the Future. I'm here with A.W. Schultz. I'm Alexandria Burek. And today we are going to be talking about digital transformation maturity levels. By the end of this episode, you're going to know what the levels are and where your organization might just fall in this maturity matrix. We'll also provide some ideas about how to get to the next level. So A.W., why don't you walk us through what you're finding in your research, and then we'll have a thoughtful conversation about digital transformation and how to reach peak maturity.
Absolutely. We will do that. And what I brought to the table today was understanding what the digital maturity levels are. And in my research, we were talking briefly in the previous episodes about Industry 4.0. And digital transformation falls right into that circle onto it. And for me, I often get asked the question about what levels everyone thinks that they might be at. And what I'm going to be going for today is some researchers have put together the different levels of digital maturity. There's essentially 5 of them. And beginning with the easy one, which is 0, it just means it's incomplete. There is no digital transformation, and I should take a step back and define what digital transformation is.
Yeah,
digital transformation is incorporating technology into the decision-making process. It is taking cloud computing, AI, big data, and incorporating it into the day-to-day work-life decisions.
Yep, predictive maintenance, schedules, those types of things, right?
Yeah, the different softwares that support the business decision-making process.
Got it. Okay.
So you've got we don't have anything.
We don't know digital transformation exists.
Yeah, can't spell it. And then you've got would be a level 1, which is performed. So they've got they got an idea for a roadmap where they want to go through. A portfolio has been created. Some trainings have been acquired. They're dibbling dabbling in some of the technologies.
They're looking at some technologies. They're considering what they might want to roll out first, what will have the biggest impact.
Yeah, they share one computer that's got Excel and something like that.
Yeah. Their business is run in Excel spreadsheets. Got it. with probably plenty of data integrity issues, but we're not going to get into that right now.
Yeah, they all share the same password. So you go to a level 2, which is it's managed. So there's pilot studies are conducted. There's physical items started to represent which might be into a augmented or virtual world. And there's standards and guidelines, procedures. They're getting things into place.
Yeah, the data is starting to flow in.
They're starting to make possibly decisions based on that data. Mm-hmm. And then you've got, say, a level 3, which is meaning it's established. They've got something. There's vertical integration. Different departments are sharing the information. It's networked through the manufacturing systems. There's standard qualifications, and they've got processes rolling into it.
Yeah.
And it's funny as I'm talking about digital transformation, but this sounds very much like something that might be incorporated into some kind of ISO or regulatory standardization. So you're talking about somewhat of a more mature facility at this point.
And let me just add really quickly, AW, I want to make a distinction here or consideration for the audience. So as AW is walking us through these different levels of maturity with digital transformation, he's mentioning manufacturing, but as he's talking about it, I'm thinking about my maintenance organization with regards to fleet activities, right? Because I'm a transportation person, I'm a supply chain person. And as I'm thinking about it, I'm checking boxes, thinking about where we've been in all these different points in our life, and not life, but throughout this process that I've been managing myself. And This digital transformation extends far beyond just manufacturing. It can be applied to, financial sector with technology they're implementing. Digital transformation will affect and impact every industry, every business unit and department that rolls up under an organization, because moving forward, it's going to be impossible to operate without these types of technologies. So sorry, I just wanted to add that.
No, that's true. And especially in the era of cybersecurity. I don't have a lot of input on that, but it's amazing how many organizations I've talked to that have been, I guess the word's hacked, right? Or is there a different word that we're using now? Or just they've been compromised,
Infiltrated, or whatever the word is. I don't know.
Yeah, there's fancier words for that.
Yeah.
I don't have it for me. So you've got to establish, this is 3. Moving on to number 4. So you're starting to get up the totem pole, is they've got horizontal integration through various networks. So your suppliers, your customers, they've got integrations into your organization. Cybersecurity is probably taken very seriously at this point. You've got dedicated resources for this, and again, decision making is built around the data that you're coming in through your digital entities that you have out there.
Yeah, that becomes like we're tipping the scales from kind of considering the data to make decisions towards we rely on this data to make decisions.
Excellent way of saying that. Yes.
Okay.
And then you have level 5, which we say is the best. It's end-to-end digital integration of engineering across the entire value chain. Mm-hmm. Innovation, business processes, continuous adaptation, continuously building on top of it, constantly integrating new digitalization technologies into their organization, and self-optimization. So you have a sense of autonomy, really, is that not everything's running through one end. It actually falls back inside possibly the people side, that they are allowed to make decisions based on the data that's being supported to them.
Yeah, it's a unity between technology and people to, carry out these business processes. When I think of the end-to-end solution, I think of when I got introduced to this concept of like sales data feeding in inventory and purchasing decisions. So based on kind of the projected sales, we could back into what inventory levels we needed as an organization and make, procurement buys based on that process. I forget the technical term for that type of supply chain management. It's something with SIOP maybe. Sales, inventory, operations, something, I forget, but it doesn't necessarily matter for this conversation. So as I'm thinking about this, I would hope that companies are, especially if we're talking about small businesses, like I think your really small businesses, like your very mom and pop type shops, they're probably going to be somewhere between 0 and 2, if I had to guess. I would say your small businesses that are producing a significant amount of things where you're kind of shocked, like, oh, that factory with 8 people distributes nationally these widgets or whatever. They're probably somewhere between 1 and 3, if I had to guess. And then once you start getting into the larger small businesses, or because what is a small business is defined? Do you know what the definition is? I forget the revenue. It's like under like some millions. It's still in the millions, but it's.
What is it? Okay, I was gonna say million.
Yeah, it's small business definition or ceiling is like some type of what?
I think 10 million.
Yeah, so some type of million. So on those businesses, I feel like are somewhere between 0 and 3. I think they also have like the biggest opportunity to take advantage of this stuff, because usually those businesses are lean enough where there's not a lot of vertical depth in their organization, vertically speaking. So the team is tight. The team all has a pretty unified understanding of the business. Those are the people that I think stand to gain the most and can really take themselves and really beat out their competition by taking this opportunity to implement digital transformation in their business, because the big corporations that they're likely competing with have dedicated teams. They're probably using a mix of internal and external resources to fit their organization somewhere between that probably 3 and 5 is what I would guess for like, the larger organizations that aren't small businesses, but they're also not Fortune 500 companies. Like those companies, I feel like are somewhere in that 3 to 5, maybe. But the Fortune 500 companies, you would think are all in that 5 range at this point. What's your take on kind of like the company size related to the digital transformation?
Well, here's some examples that maybe an organization would be asking if they're thinking where they are in the maturity level. So digital transformation, or it's part of 4.0, you've got technology, you have your enablers, but you also have process, which is considered your enhancers. Some of the technologies that you might have is what you're utilizing: AI, simulations, possible blockchains, digital twin, an EAM system. You've got robotics, augmented reality, cybersecurity, a CMMS system, and then also cloud services. But even if you don't have some of those, some of the enhancers that support those, especially on the people side, is they've got a work management system. They have terminologies and references that go into it, like an onboarding. They do data analysis, and they've got a decision-making hierarchy process onto that.
Yeah. Can I share something really quickly? Because I think I have a really great example of what this looks like in real life. Is that okay if I share that with you guys?
Absolutely.
Cool. So when I was thinking about this, I'm thinking about where we started as an organization. So I work for a manufacturing company, and particularly I'm overseeing the strategy behind our trailer maintenance. We have 6,000 or 7,000 trailers on the road. So there's a lot of maintenance that goes into keeping those trailers up to date and in good working condition. When I came on the team in 2021, we had just centralized and brought all of the oversight under our organization, under our team. We had been putting all these new technologies in place for various kind of outcomes that we were seeking to achieve. And we were really significantly lacking on the trailer maintenance side. So step 1, so 0 for us was we didn't have any data other than our literal accounts payable data around trailer maintenance. So that to me would be, we were at 0 with trailer maintenance. So step 1 for us was getting sort of what I would call like almost like an ERP system in place, where it was specific. It was almost like a junior ERP for specifically trailer maintenance, where at least we were able to isolate the maintenance expense. We were able to drill down a level deeper, so not just invoice total. Now we could break out parts and labor, so we could have an idea of what that pie looked like. And we developed the behavior behind behind paying attention to that and processing those invoices. So that was step 1 for us, is put the technology in place, this like junior ERP, get the people who have to manage and do the data entry to do the data entry and build a process around that. So we did that, and we had a second layer of data, right? So then this allowed us to, decide where are we doing too much maintenance, where are we not doing enough maintenance, but we still didn't really have enough detail, or our engagement in certain areas was lacking. So then level 2, can you remind me what level 2 was?
I think it's adapting.
Adapting. Okay, great. So then we had what's that?
It's called performed.
Performed. Okay. So we had gotten people in the general routine of doing the invoice processing, putting the POs in the system, capturing that. I had developed a corporate process for reporting. We started developing some KPIs. That's kind of that 2 to 3 marker, right, AW?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
So then, but we had reached our ceiling with that system, right? That system was not able to be integrated. So we had kind of maxed out our capacity with that system. So then we hopped over, we created and started using a new system, which is our CMMS, which is how AW and I met. We were both at the same conference. We were both speaking. I was talking about the digital the integrations that I was overseeing and managing, and AW was one of the keynote speakers at that event. So we had connected, and that's how this podcast was actually born.
Yep.
So in implementing our CMMS, it opened up this world of possibilities where we're now actually performing predict maintenance ahead of schedule proactively on our trailers based on integrations and GPS data that we plugged into the system. So we're talking about, would that be a horizontal or a vertical integration? I think it's horizontal.
Yes, horizontal. You're doing it
Right.
all over.
Right. And so now we've got really granular detail. We can give information on our GPS units' health. We can give information on our location. We can do decisions and actually carry out maintenance activities based on the integration and the system telling us, prompting us, the humans, to do it. Now there's a tight feedback loop, so the humans tell me when things need to be resolved. Just today, we discovered a potential bug that with the integration, we updated all the system, and now I can go back to my team and say, hey, this has all been resolved. The next layer, though, we're getting to that 4 and 5 layer with this particular type of technology, in that we've put some kind of just general information in with our internal mechanic team, like in terms of their hourly rate. The system calculates the labor cost for our internal mechanics, and then it also will calculate kind of the parts expense based on the blanket kind of parts expense we put in. So they select the parts. We now have internal mechanic, labor, and parts. What we're looking to do is start doing more inventory management in that system. So that's that next layer up. And then what we also want to start doing is doing some benchmarking between all of our different mechanics. So who's doing, how can we look at them side by side and look at the production and the productivity of each of those mechanics. So that just, I think, illustrates kind of the different levels of this digital transformation and what that might look like for somebody else in their organization. What do you have in terms of your thoughts about that, AW?
Well, I have a question. So I think that's pretty impressive, actually, how the integration on it, because you must have some thought leaders that are willing to support into it. But I guess my one question is, you're getting all this information in. How do you know that they're acting on it? Because it's predictive maintenance. While anybody that does any study will say, yes, it costs less than reactive maintenance, but on paper it seems to cost more if you did nothing. So how do you know that they're reacting to it, or they believe in the process?
I've got two answers on that. So the first answer is we started collecting our data in 2022. That's our first full year of maintenance data. And what I did late last year was I looked at when did we have a peak. What I call that is our that's when we addressed our deferred maintenance. So leading up to the centralization, so basically prior to 2021, our organization basically did bare minimum, if at all, that. And so then after we took over as a private fleet team, we had an immense amount of maintenance to get caught up on. Imagine if you just never did maintenance on your house, and then all of a sudden in 1 year you've got appliances, you've got landscaping, you've got exterior, you've got pest control, you've got all these things that you're basically doing that if you would have just done steadily throughout the last 5 years, you wouldn't be dealing with these major expenses up front. So for us, that was brakes, tires, and just anything you could think of, we were dealing with it. But brakes and tires were majority of our expense. A brake job on a trailer is about $2,000 to $4,000. So you factor in 7,000 trailers on the road, and you can expect the maintenance to be pretty high. Luckily for us, that ended up being spread out between 2023 and 2024 because our area fleet managers didn't have the capacity to drill down and go after that maintenance at every single one of their facilities. They have anywhere from 3 to 6 facilities that they oversee. So what I did last year was I looked at when did our maintenance peak, because that's likely when we did a maintenance blitz, and how many sites did we have left in terms of potentially deferred maintenance, addressable deferred maintenance that could be lingering in the future. So that's kind of the way I approached that potential scenario. In terms of the actioning proactive maintenance, I think we have a lot of work to do there, and that's where I'm going to be directing a lot of my attention kind of on the go forward. So what I did recently is I looked at, so the way I designed our workflow is it automatically opens a work order for the area fleet manager. So again, less clicks, less effort on their part. It emails them, opens a work order. All the area fleet manager has to do is get that work order executed, meaning assign it to an internal mechanic or assign it to an external mechanic and complete the process. What I'm finding is what I can do and what I've done is look at the total work orders completed year to date and open work orders. So for example, there's a site with a lot of internal mechanics that has 700 completed work orders, which is great, but they also have 113 open. So that tells me that we're assigning work and it's not getting completed by the internal mechanic, or we're not assigning it to the internal mechanic and it's just lingering in this open world. So it's that percentage of open work orders to closed work orders that can alert me that we're not actioning our proactive maintenance. So that's actually a live problem I'm working through within the last week.
Wow, it's fresh on the mind. It's a perfect example too, by the way.
Yeah, it is really worked out well. We did not plan that. This is completely organic.
Yeah, I can give stories about when it doesn't work, but I've had a couple that have worked. But yeah, that's a great story, and I think it kind of gives a precedence of where is digital transformation, why is it important, and how it's driving some of the results of organizations like the one Alexander's part of today.
Yeah, I'm really excited about that, and I'm in the middle of closing out my second integration, so maybe we can revisit the conversation once that's up and live. It pulls the data down one layer of our organization, so we'll be taking information from the drivers and getting that directly to the area fleet managers, so that way they don't have to work through two different systems. That would be our second horizontal integration that we're incorporating, and it builds on the first one with the GPS trailer tracking data. So I just love doing this stuff. That's what lights me up.
I feel it. It lights you up.
I know. Starting this conversation, I was in the best mood, and now I'm in a good mood. So thank you.
Okay. Well, I think we're approaching the end. What do you think, Alexander? Anything?
Yeah, I'm clocking out.
All right. Well, thanks for joining this episode of Factor the Future, and we are checking out here like finished goods.
Bye.
This is Factor the Future, and we are out of here like finished goods. Stay tuned for our next episode of Factory of the Future, where we're exploring groundbreaking techniques and behaviors that are reshaping industrial landscapes. Don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review and help others discover the cutting-edge insights transforming manufacturing as we know it.